On September 9, 1924, Elder Russell M. Nelson was born in Salt Lake City, Utah. He was born into a family that came from pioneer stock. Both sets of his grandparents traveled from Europe to Ephraim, Utah, where they settled and raised their families. His father, Marion, and his mother, Edna Anderson, met while Marion was working for the Deseret News. He had gone out on an assignment to cover a concert by the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. There was a special soloist that had the most beautiful voice. It was love at first sight, and they got married August 25th, 1919. Did you know that 3 weeks after Elder Russell M. Nelson was born, General Conference was broadcasted for the first time on the radio? Music was very important in the Nelson household. Russell remembers being cuddled while his mother sang to him. She would cuddle him and sing "Carry Me Back to Old Virginny" when he was not feeling well. It comforted him, and on occasion he would feign an illness just to have that closeness with his mother. It wasn't until he was ordained as a priest in November of 1941 that the lack of daily application of the gospel in his home became a priority. He knew his parents lived for their children, but did not make their faith a priority. Although the Nelson home was free of contention, the spirit felt different in their home than in the home of their neighbors, the Joseph Fielding Smith family. Russell enjoyed sitting at the Apostles' feet and gaining knowledge and feeling the Spirit there. Russell was a very intelligent lad. He was so far advanced that he was able to skip the 5th grade altogether. When he was 10 years old, he began working as an errand boy for his father at the ad agency. Along with working, he really enjoyed junior high school. He was in the school play and the glee club, along with being the student body vice president. He learned how to play the bugle. He played it daily for the raising and lowering of the flag. What he lacked in skill on the bugle, he made up for in volume. He decided to branch out on his own and got a job as a bank messenger at Tracy Loan and Trust Company. It was his responsibility to fill the pens on Saturday, and he worked his way all the way up the ladder to posting clerk while he was still in school. It was here that he developed an interest in photography. He wrote a paper on the chemistry of photography as a research paper for his chemistry class, and then he used that paper to help him get a job with Egger's studio. He was offered an apprenticeship and was eventually able to become a paid employee. He earned enough money to buy his father a gift of photo-flood reflectors and lamps for Christmas. His father never even used this gift, but Russell used them instead in his hobby of photography. At the same time he was working for Egger's studio, he also got a job as a sorter at the U.S. Post Office. It was at this time in his life that he decided to pursue a medical career. Russell attended East High School in 1938. He was only 14 years old. He was on the debate team, played the piano, and worked on the yearbook. One of his most memorable extracurricular activities was being a member of the East High a cappella choir. It was during these high school years that it was determined that he had the ability to recognize the pitch of a note or to produce any given note. Russell had perfect pitch. He also played on the football team, but he stayed on the bench during the games. He always felt a bit defensive about his hands, and later in his life he used those hands to operate on his coach. He graduated in 1941 as the valedictorian of his class. After he graduated, he went to the University of Utah. He chose to stay in Utah because he loved home more than any other place. Even with his heavy load of classes, he kept up with family events, dating, and other social events. He even had the lead in the play Excursion in his freshman year. In 1942, he was asked several times to participate in the play Hayfoot, Strawfoot. He repeatedly declined because of his workload of classes. The request to participate continued until he finally said yes. On the first day of rehearsal he was struck by the voice of a beautiful soprano. Her name was Danzelle White. Russell felt that someday this would be his wife. In the summer of 1944, he popped the question to Danzelle in a pea patch. They agreed that they would need to wait to be married until he could support them. He earned his bachelor's degree in June of 1945 and then was accepted into the Naval Reserve. He would continue his education while the reserves would pay his tuition, books, and pay him a salary of $125 per month. On August 31, 1945, Danzelle and Russell were sealed in the Salt Lake Temple. Russell was saddened by the fact that his parents were not able to witness the sealing ceremony, but his sister and her husband were there. His parents provided them with a wedding reception in the Jade Room at the Hotel Utah. When they made their vows in the temple, Danzelle said yes to all the new changes that would happen in her life. Once offered a spot to sing at Juilliard, she traded that spot for singing lullabies to their 10 children. She followed Russell to Minnesota for his internship, then to Washington, D.C., and then back to Utah to wait as he served in active duty in Korea. She never complained about not having her own home or the fact that he was away so much. While they were living in Minneapolis during his residency, Russell was gone for long periods of time, even several days in a row. Danzelle told Russell that she needed something living around the house. Russell went out and bought her a goldfish. This was not exactly what she had in mind. They began their family not long after that. Marcia was first. She arrived on July 29, 1948. Then came Wendy on April 5, 1951. Gloria was next, born on September 21, 1952. Brenda then joined the family on February 3, 1954. Their 5th daughter, Sylvia, was born on June 6, 1955. Lori was next, and she was born on April 27, 1959. Rosalie came next, born on February 7, 1962, and their youngest daughter, Marjorie, was born on October 5, 1965. Then finally, on March 21, 1972, their son was born. He was 12 pounds and all boy. While raising his family, Russell continued to expand his knowledge of the human body. In 1947 he received his M.D. He served a 2-year term of medical duty in the U.S. Army during the Korean War and also served in Japan. He then served at Walter Reed Medical Center in Washington, D.C. Russell has several other doctorates along with his M.D. He has a Ph.D. from the University of Minnesota, an honorary Doctor of Science from BYU, a Doctor of Medical Science from Utah State University, and a Doctor of Humane Letters from Snow College. He was the Assistant Professor of Surgery at the University of Utah College of Medicine, all while doing research and performing surgery. He went into private practice in 1959. Along with literally touching the hearts of thousands of patients, he worked on a team that made medical history. Did you know Elder Russell M. Nelson completed the 4-year medical school course in 3 years with highest honors? He was only 22 years old. In a January 1983 Ensign article, we read, having entered the university's medical school in 1944, Russell completed the 4-year course in 3 years. Then followed an internship at the University of Minnesota Hospital, where, in addition to the normal surgical training, he began a program leading to the PhD degree. He also became part of a team that received a 5-year research grant to develop a machine that would take over the functions of a patient's heart and lungs while the heart was being surgically repaired. The challenges were enormous, but after nearly 3 years of labor it was ready for use. In 1951 it was used for the first time in an open-heart operation on a human being. Russell did not have the opportunity to serve a full-time mission at age 19 because the United States was at war. Later in his life he did serve a mission in Temple Square. He was the stake president of Bonneville Stake from 1964 to June of 1971. In 1971 he served as the general president of the Sunday School and served there for 8 years. He had the honor of being the regional representative for BYU, and he was the regional representative in 1979 for the Kearns, Utah region. Elder Russell M. Nelson was called and sustained as an apostle of God on April 7, 1984, where he has served for 27 years.
Saturday of April Conference of '84 has been circled on our calendar for many years, for that date was targeted as the first time in my life that our only son would be old enough to attend general priesthood meeting with me. Last night, that long-awaited goal became a reality. Brothers and sisters, little did we know that on that day, my name would be presented as a member of the Quorum of the 12. As we didn't know, our children didn't know either. Our married daughters telephoned us between sessions. One, who was expecting a baby, said, "Daddy, I was so shocked by that announcement, I think I'm going into labor." That she did. So, President Hinckley, your announcement from the First Presidency should get credit for at least an assist. Our 22nd grandchild arrived safely last evening. A wide array of feelings has flashed through my mind since I heard the call. My dear brethren and sisters, since our last General Conference, my sweetheart, my beloved wife for 59 years, passed away. While I was at home on a rare Saturday with no assignment, we had worked together. She had washed our clothing. I had helped to carry it, fold it, and put it in place. Then, sitting on the sofa, holding hands, enjoying a program on television, my precious Dancel slipped peacefully into eternity. Her passing came suddenly and unexpectedly. Her passing came suddenly and unexpectedly. Just 4 days earlier, our doctor's report at a routine checkup indicated that her laboratory tests were good. After my efforts to revive her proved fruitless, feelings of shock and sorrow overwhelmed me. My closest friend, angel mother of our 10 children, grandmother of our 56 grandchildren, had been taken from us.
Elder Nelson's beautiful wife, Dancel, passed away in February of 2005. Elder Nelson did remarry in April of 2006. He married Wendy L. Watson. Today, she often accompanies him on his church assignments. During the October 2007 General Conference, Elder Joseph B. Worthland came to the podium to speak. Very soon after he started, it appeared that he was trembling. The trembling continued and even worsened. It seemed that he was gripping the podium to hold himself up. I was afraid for him. Would he fall? It was uncomfortable to watch. I wanted somebody to help him. Meanwhile, Elder Worthland barreled on, bulldog-like, determined to finish his address. He wasn't going to let go, and his meaningful message was powerful. Finally, someone did come to his aid. What a relief! Of course it would be Elder Nelson. Elder Nelson, the physician, would know what to do, and wouldn't be reluctant to step in and give aid when others might be unsure of what was needed. Though I was watching on TV 1,000 miles away, I can imagine the entire congregation gave a collective sigh of relief. Elder Nelson, the physician, and the apostle quietly and calmly came to support and strengthen his brother, and all watching were amazed and instructed by his example of service and love.
The fulfillment of the ancient Abrahamic covenant is feasible only because of the Lord Jesus Christ. It is He who has made it possible for us to dwell with God, with Him, and with our families eternally. This is His work and His glory. I love Him. I testify of Him and express my everlasting gratitude for Him, now and forevermore.